really have to identify exactly what your needs are and prioritize them and determine what your top 5 are and what solution will provide those top 5. Now, I will say that the entry-level cost for Volusion is great. It is really easy to get involved in them, but I can see you quickly outgrowing them.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. Do you know an e-commerce platform that targets very small e-commerce startups, just like Wix or GoDaddy? Do you know an e-commerce platform that had recently filed Chapter 11 to restructure its debt? Do you know an e-commerce platform that may not have as high a transaction fee similar to Shopify? Do you know an e-commerce platform that is based in Austin, Texas? If you have guessed Volusion, then you are right. In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to conduct an independent review of Volusion's capabilities. We covered its strengths, such as not having as high transaction fee and its alignment to the smaller businesses. Finally, we discussed its financial challenges and the problems users reported while using this platform. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution independently from the e-commerce community. And for today, we have a very interesting solution called Volusion. We are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my intro. I am Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP commerce digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Robert for his intro.
Hi, my name is Robert Brown. I'm the principal of Robert Brown eCommerce Consultancy. He helps small to medium-sized businesses move into e-commerce and do it effectively.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Robert. And if you are in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys put your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If you run out of time, we will make sure that you give your answers. On that note, Robert, I am going to start with the quick commentary of this solution where they fit in the value chain overall, and then we can discuss your commentary as well, if you have any sort of experience or if you have done any research about them. Now, this particular solution, obviously, we are looking at very lower end of the solution. They are going to be, in my mind, much smaller than Shopify. In my mind, the comparable here are probably going to be something like Wix. You could probably compare this with GoDaddy as well, but then these guys are probably going to have slightly deeper capabilities in general similar to Shopify. But overall, they are not designed for the bigger market verticals. It's a very small solution in general. And that's the kind of infrastructure they are probably going to use. That's how their pricing is built. So again, in my mind, I think they are probably going to be comparable to Wix or Squarespace, but here you're going to get far deeper commerce capabilities in general compared to what you're going to get with Squarespace. Here you're also going to get more integration compared to Wix or Squarespace. In my mind, you're going to get a lot more themes. So these guys are definitely bigger than them, but it's definitely not comparable with Shopify or BigCommerce. And Shopify, BigCommerce themselves are very SMB centric solution.
So here is where we have to, the shop owner has to understand how they're going to drive customers, right? So one of the downsides of Volusion is they don't have a built-in content management system blog post capability like you would see it like WordPress. So, small organizations. So I think that they are probably competing with WordPress from like the simplicity view of getting a shop up and running.
Yeah.
But they specialize more in the e-commerce piece of it as opposed to the content solution piece of it. But that's kind of the critical piece here, right? So what is the strategy a small to medium-sized business has to generate business? Is it going to be purely advertising, so all outbound, or are they going to try to drive any inbound customer solutions? So one of the things that I did not see with them is no inbound capabilities.
Yeah.
So from an SEO, so there's no content generation. You can use their articles piece, but that doesn't really work the same way. And then I didn't see a CMS capability either. If you're trying to manage your customers, not content management, sorry.
Okay, CRM, you mean?
Yes, I meant CRM.
Okay.
I was on the CMS piece, and then I meant to say CRM.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, what's going on?
So, and I didn't see the CRM capability. And so really, it's really important for these smaller shops to try to improve the lifetime value of their customers. And so they want to continue to engage and provide them a fantastic experience so they become the evangelist driving other customers into you.
Right. And, there are some very interesting layers in your conversation. And number one, obviously, when we look at the different solutions that we have reviewed so far, I don't know how many of them are trying to be a CRM company. Probably not the best idea, to be honest, okay? Because obviously there are far better CRM solutions out there. Now, I can understand your concern as well. Okay, when you are looking at that integrated experience, it could be hard, especially for these smaller companies. Companies such as, let's say, if you look at CRM such as HubSpot or Pipedrive, they are probably going to have decent integration, at least for the beginning. I would say, the way they are integrated. So you probably don't have to spend $1 million in integrating these platforms, but still you might get the similar experience where you can probably map out your customer journey. Now, the next comment, there are a lot of different platforms that can provide the blog capabilities. And by the way, in this particular case as well, okay, so we have a review, we are going to review that, and my understanding is that these guys have blogging capabilities that's just not as rich, and that's my perception with the other platforms as well. They might have blogging capabilities, but every single review that we have seen so far, even with companies like Shopify, people complain about blogging capabilities. I mean, these companies are mainly commerce companies. They are not really content companies. That's why sometimes they are okay. But, in my mind, when I look at the different websites, the way companies are approaching this on a website, you are probably going to have 3 different solutions, overlapping on a website. For example, let's say if you are using some sort of HubSpot, then obviously you are going to have your pop-ups, etc. They are going to be delivered by your, HubSpot solution. It's very rare that you are going to use, CMS from the same vendor, e-commerce from the same vendor, as well as your CRM from the same vendor. Even if you're going for something like HubSpot, their CMS is probably going to be really weak. Okay, and obviously they don't have even decent commerce capabilities. So you are probably going to be utilizing 2 or 3 different solutions, and the integration that we have, the way web works, it's probably going to be okay. Having 3 different solutions, even in the case of, I would say, Shopify BigCommerce, companies might be using WordPress along with your Shopify and BigCommerce. I don't know. Do you have any counter comments there?
Well, so when we think about most in this small to medium-sized space, right, a lot of them will have technology partners that will bring the other solutions to them. And so in looking through their partner solutions, their technology partner solutions, you can actually see what they have connected with, and none of them are providing that. So they don't seem to be providing some of that more fuller, richer experience that technology provides now for the entry level, say, Shopify store, right? So I don't see the ability to do abandoned cart emails. So when I'm looking at the customer management section of their technology partners, I see answer-based, privy,
Yeah.
Snap Engage, comments, form builder, live chat, but I don't see, some of that other way to scoop back in the customer.
And you are so right. I mean, there's no way in the hell they are going to be comparable with Shopify, because obviously Shopify has much larger ecosystem. They have like 2 million customers. These guys probably have 30,000 customers. The companies who are going to be investing in the integration, they have to make money as well. In general, Volusion customer base is very small. Obviously, they are not going to have as much money to pay to these add-on solutions. And, in my experience, even add-ons could be super expensive. Sometimes they could be more expensive than the existing commerce solution.
Exactly. And so, it's a reoccurring theme for our show to say you really have to identify exactly what your needs are and, and prioritize them and determine what your top 5 are and what solution will provide those top 5. Now, I will say that the entry level cost for Volusion is great.
Yeah.
It is really easy to get involved in them, but I can see you quickly outgrowing it.
I completely agree. And I don't know, Robert, if you have come across them in any of the verticals. I have some experiences, where I've seen them. So either it was with very, very, very small merchants. That was number one category. The second category was slightly more fragmented market. Okay. So we are looking at more of the contractor, construction sort of verticals. Okay. In that, what is going to happen is you are going to have very, very tiny B2B sort of, buyer. And these are not necessarily businesses, but they want easier way to shop. So these businesses don't really go after the net new customer as such, because they already have a base and they are trying to redirect them to e-commerce. So in those cases, it might be okay. So I don't know what is the real target market for Volusion. Obviously, they like to position themselves as SMB, but for the most part, everybody is going to have their own sweet spot in terms of the industry as well. And sometimes the net new experience doesn't matter at all, because sometimes e-commerce is only going to be for the existing repeat customers. Now, you might argue that, the abandoned cart still matters, because even for the return customers, you probably want to retarget them. I agree. But depending upon what's the ROI in doing that.
So taking a look at builtwith.com, which, they have a list of sites using Volusion.
Yeah.
And they say that there is 20,000 results in this full report, 13,000 of which are redirects, 54,000 which include historical results, page 1 of 194.
Yeah.
And the highest traffic site that I see on here is pearsonview.com, Parts Warehouse, Powertrain Products, woodstore.net, Waterbed Outlet, Store, Pesta.net, partsforheating.com. So really, and they give you like sales revenues, spending on tech, and all of these are actually most of them seem to be under 100K in sales revenue.
So
there are some that are in like the 1 to 200,000, very few that are in over 200,000. The largest one is equipmentforte.net at 446,000 in sales.
That would be my guess of their target market as well. It's really for the entrepreneurs, and you call this as more of the hobby, Robert. It's not a serious business as such, So I completely agree with you. I mean, this is really for the hobbyist sort of. It's not designed for the serious businesses that are trying to grow to multi-million dollars.
Yes. So I think this is side gig 101. And if you are lucky enough to be the 10% that's able to grow to the next level, then you would migrate to a more robust system. So
could not agree more. All right. So let's cover the slides. If you have any other comments, we can cover those.
Yep.
And I'm going to be a little gimmicky today. I'm going to try some tools that I have found. So hopefully you can see them, Robert. Let's try this. Can you see this?
No, I just see the slide.
Interesting. So you are not seeing the red square at all?
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's not worry about that. I'm actually getting your fever, Robert. You know what? I am trying different tools, but they don't seem to work for me today. Never ever try tools, especially when you're live. Okay. So let's go to some
Well,
commentary here.
PowerPoint is the most consistent presentation tool in a live demo.
Exactly. In any case, so let's review the commentary here. So it says, this is the commentary coming from overall the transaction fee. I think this is one of the value prop that they have overall from the pitch perspective, and that value prop may work with a lot of different businesses. And that is going to be, especially when you talk about Shopify. Obviously, Shopify has the transaction, and that transaction fee could be extremely expensive. If you compare that with your payment provider, and that's why I don't necessarily mind the GMV based pricing for e-commerce. But now, if you look at any of the add-ons, now everybody is charging based on GMV. Initially, it might be okay, but once you get to your $10-20 million, oh my goodness, it could be really expensive. So here, I think one of the pitches that these platforms have against Shopify, in fact, BigCommerce probably has the same pitch as well, that you are not paying the transaction fee. So here, and by the way, I mean, Volusion has gone through quote unquote bankruptcy round. We'll discuss that as well. Okay, so after that, I guess they had to introduce the transaction fee as well, because running an e-commerce business, it's very, very, very expensive. It's not easy at all. You might think that they are making a lot of money, but it's very challenging. So here they are saying it may range from 0.5% up to 2% for every product that is sold on your store. So this is the GMV based pricing, which is going to be far lower. My understanding is that Shopify probably have what 2.33%, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So here they are talking about eliminating the transaction fee. Again, we have seen this in the case of Shift4Shop. I think they were trying to claim the same thing as well, that I'm simply giving you the platform and then you need to use my payment provider, then I'm going to be okay. It's all same thing in my mind. Here they are talking about overall plans, and we are going to be discussing the pricing in slightly deeper detail on some of the next slides. Here they are saying this is the initial plan, which is $35 per month. It's very similar to your QuickBooks plan in my mind, and this is probably similar to what if you have 4 or 5 Microsoft users or probably Google users, that's what you are going to pay. So again, that's the kind of size of the business that you are talking about. Pro has roughly $75 per month. Premium has $135 per month. So that's the plan that they have. And then they are talking about it would have been better if a block feature was built in. So this is the complaint, and that's what you were talking about, Robert, I believe. But then I saw a comment, and I don't know if they introduced the feature later on. But even if they introduce, then probably it's
Which feature?
Blog. The content.
No. They so when you go to their site, they have a Volusion blog,
yeah,
but they don't have a blog for stores.
And how would you define the difference? Sorry.
So Volusion, the company itself, on its site.
Well, I mean, so customers should not care for that. Okay, so we are talking about.
Yeah. So, but for your store, they do not have a blog functionality. They have articles that you can publish, but articles and blogs are a little bit different.
Okay, so now you need to.
Articles are a static page.
And how would you define the difference between blog? Okay, you need to tell me more.
So the blog usually has a date published. It's usually in sequential order. You can see the number of articles. You can dig in deeper.
Got it. So basically what you are saying is you don't really have that CMS functionality that you are going to get with your WordPress. Things such as your category tags, organizing of your articles, date, author, all of those things.
Exactly.
It can be really tricky. Got it.
Yeah, especially really important for like search capabilities. So when you've tagged the articles and you want to find the particular ones that relate to that or date specific with articles, you really can't do that.
Could not agree more. And honestly speaking, I wonder how many platforms are going to be as robust as WordPress in terms of the CMS capabilities. And especially when you talk about the integration of your CMS with your e-commerce platform, it's just one URL that you need to embed and you can have that as a link. So I don't really know if you need to have your blogs hosted as part of your e-commerce platform. And I don't even know if Shopify may have decent blogging platform, but I think I have seen reviews where they are complaining that it's not as robust as your WordPress. So here, right, obviously they are complaining about the blog. And They have a comment here. If the 180,000 entrepreneurs worldwide using it is any indication, then it's surely is. And they are talking about this is the number of customers that they have, which is roughly 200,000, which is definitely big. But obviously, the size of the customers, if you really look at them, you're probably going to have millions and millions of customers. But for the most part, they are hardly paying like 35 a month. So again, you have a lot more hobbyists, not as many serious business. So here we have some more commentary here. They are saying they are talking about the faster development cycles for Volusion clients, adding new features and responding to demands at record speed. And they are also talking about how it integrates with your Shippo, PayPal, Stripe. I can see Stripe as part of their partners, and I don't know if they had to take off, but I did not see Stripe as part of the integrated solution on their side. Then they have, soon Zapier. Then I could see Zapier, Yopto is there, and then Square and Zero. They definitely have that.
I think what happened is Stripe is there, but it's part of the Volusion payment tool.
Okay, how does that work? Is that some sort of white label arrangement or?
Well, yeah. So that's part of the marketing strategy from Stripe. So as opposed to a separate payment processor, so each customer having their own account with Stripe and then integrated with whatever website they have, they just go through their solution provider. So many solution providers like Volusion or Dance Studio Pro, platform tools, they create the integration with Stripe and process through them and determine how much they're actually going to pay through. So it's a way of making the integration easier for the customer, but the platform also gets a back-end cut of all processing.
Right. So let's say, and I'm going to be asking this question from the listener's perspective. So let me try to follow this, okay, whatever you are trying to say. So let's say if I have an option of getting Stripe with one of the vendors versus I'm going to get Volusion Pay, which is just a white labeled version of your Stripe. So for me, what is the difference? I know that probably transaction fee is going to be similar, but overall, for me, what could be the difference there?
So the difference is actually going to be cheaper. So if you went to Stripe directly, you would pay like 2.99% interest per transaction, right?
Okay.
By going through Volusion, their transaction fee is actually much less. So from their site, Volusion customers who use Volusion payment powered by Stripe as their payment gateway are not charged transaction fees. Volusion customers who choose to use an alternative supported gateway are subject to gateway maintenance fees for personal plans. So it saves you the gateway fees.
Got it. And obviously they are the reseller for Stripe, so they are probably giving them decent margin to play with, and they are trying to promote their resellers as opposed to competing with them. So that's probably smart from the Stripe's perspective, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. Because they probably get pennies on the dollar back end, 0.5%, 0.25% over, millions of transactions. It ends up being, a decent chunk of money on a monthly basis.
Yeah, could not agree more. Great points, Robert. So some more commentary here. And one thing to note, they are hosted on GCP. And I don't know if we could really confirm how many different platforms are hosted on Google Cloud Platform. But Google seems to be targeting that, consumerized retail space a lot in general. So this is probably a sign that anybody who's probably going to be hosted in GCP is probably going to be slightly more consumerized. I don't know how many enterprise-grade platforms are there on GCP. There might be some, but I think their target market is really consumerized.
So interesting. So taking a step back, talking about costs. If you go annually, Volusion, it ends up being $31 a month for the personal, $71 a month for the professional, and $269 a month for the business on an annualized basis. Shopify, on the annualized basis, $14.44 a month for the basic. $39.44 for the mid-tier, and advanced is $147.78. So Shopify is squeezing pretty hard.
Exactly, but I think the play is really the transaction fee. That's where the real difference is. So if you actually compute your overall ROI based on the transaction fee, I think Shopify is probably going to be.
Shopify is only charging you for the credit card fees. So it's because they're using Stripe. I recognize this pricing. So it's credit card, and the rate varies based on the plan that you're on. So let's say that you're on the mid tier at $39.44 a month.
Yeah.
Online is 2.6% plus 30 cents.
And 2.6% is going to be with Shopify Pay, or is that going to be with Stripe?
That's using Shopify Pay.
Right. So let's say if you don't use Shopify Pay.
Then if you don't use Shopify Pay, then you're still going to have to pay your payment processor.
Exactly. So the assumption is that you are paying Shopify Pay. So Shopify Pay versus Stripe, and in your mind, that is comparable, right? That's what you're trying to say?
So for low volume stores,
yeah,
which is really what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah,
so the entry level store, the price is comparable. The percentage point difference between going to Stripe directly or going through the direct integration like Shopify Pay or Volusion Pay is minimal. Most stores will not see a significant change in their volume because if the average store is $100,000 a year in sales, right?
Yeah.
How much does that end up being? $2,000.
Exactly.
$2,000 annually.
Yeah.
I mean, so if
$2,000 is a lot of money if you're selling, let's say 100,000, because I don't know what your profit margin is. You are probably, I don't know.
That is true. So you have to take a look you have to know your numbers really, really well.
Yeah.
To know what your costs are going to be, because if you're on Shopify, are you going to get other tools that are going to allow you to sell more? I can't answer that question. It really has to be each individual business has a unique set of requirements that they need to analyze to determine which platform would be best for them. So I'm not here to say, forget Volusion, go to Shopify. No, that it's not black and white.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is there is enough of a competition going out there from different platforms on a cost basis and functionality basis that you have to really know your numbers well and know exactly what you need to get done to determine which is going to be your best platform.
Yeah, could not agree more. In fact, I think there is this marketing hype about the whole transaction fee, to be honest. But as we have compared, you are going to pay transaction fee regardless because that's your credit card charge. If you are processing credit card, then you have to pay somehow, whether you pay it to the bank or credit card company or to a processor or to Shopify. So that's irrelevant. Okay, now let's compare the pricing. And you pointed out correctly that Shopify is probably cheaper than most platform, even though everybody sort of talks about the transaction fee. That's meaningless in my mind.
And most of I don't have the data to prove it, but I would say that most of the stores that have these online stores, they probably are having a small multi-channel presence. They may have an Amazon presence, which is taking up to 15% right off the top to feed the evil orange beast. They probably have either an eBay or a Walmart or both. Yeah. And each of those are taking a piece of the action as well. And so you have to determine, are you making a profit? Is each channel profitable for you? Exactly. And is it driving towards your strategy to grow your business?
Could not agree more. Great points, Robert. Okay, so if you don't have any other comments, let's review some more commentary here. So here they are talking about 15% average page load time improvement without having any site optimization. That seems to be more of the marketing pitch. Then they are talking about general network latency. Okay, so these are the improvements that they have done. I guess this is coming from a release that they had done, based on the improvements that they had done on the platform. So those comments are coming from there. Before that, the platform was really struggling from the performance perspective. So now it might be slightly better. This is another release from 2019. And this is the XSB platform. I think this is the one that you were talking about, Robert. This is the premier AI automated solution and this is for ADA. Obviously, they are trying to provide a lot more for ADA. And I have heard this from a lot of different vendors in the market. So even if you're going to be on Magento, you probably spend a lot for ADA compliance. Shopify is probably going to have some themes from their resellers, but again, ADA compliance is probably going to be slightly more expensive. So if these guys are able to provide out of the box experience, obviously that's definitely a value. I don't know, Robert, if you have any commentary there by any chance.
Most of these platforms have been designed with ADA in mind because they don't want to be sued by some state attorney general. But the platforms themselves cannot get in front of the store owner
Exactly.
who is unaware of the requirements of ADA. And, most people haven't thought about it because, they just grow. So those that are wholly abled have never been put in the place where they have to consider what the less abled are capable of doing. So
Yeah.
that may be if you're older and you have vision issues, you need to read wearing glasses, reading glasses like I do.
Yeah.
So you can't read 8-point font. And if the store owner decides that they want to have really tiny font, it makes it more difficult for us. If they want to use low contrast images and font, so it makes it more difficult regardless of how big we make it, that is a problem. Having alt text for all images.
Yeah.
So a screen reader can go through and say, oh, this image is X.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you the details of exactly what the image is, but at least, somebody with sight issues could at least understand what it's supposed to imply.
Right.
And so that is not on the platform, that is on the business. And there are third-party services that will go through your store and they will identify the things that you have missed and suggest to you what you need to fix. Some of them are paid. There are a few free ones, but you as a store owner, it's on you. Really.
Exactly.
Because you're building that customer relationship.
Exactly. But I mean, legally as well, I don't think they can sue the platforms. They have no responsibility in this. Sure. I mean, since they are providing the platform, they are probably going to build some measures. But as such, again, it's not on them. So if these guys are sort of able to provide that tailored experience, obviously this is better because this is the agency that is certified to do this. So they are definitely partnering with them and they are trying to make sure that these guys are compliant. And from the AI perspective, obviously, you can do a lot more with the AI direction. And I don't know whether they have some sort of algorithm or notifications that they get based on this, but this seems to be really okay. Now let's go back to some more comments. So this is another release, and here they are talking about Volusion Capital, and this is going to be a financing option. My understanding is going to be pretty much everybody's doing that because obviously they are making money through this as well. They all want to work with payment providers as well as bank. So financing is probably not a highlight, I would say, of this platform, but that is probably going to be an option that everybody's going to have. Now they are providing up to what 250,000 growth capital, which could be a big deal, especially if you're not getting this capital from your bank. But a lot of vendors are doing this. QuickBooks is doing that as well. It's all partnership. Now, some more commentary here. This is another release, I guess. We started the process on July 27. I think this is for the Chapter 11. And there might be some misunderstanding around this as well, what it means. Obviously, it could be very scary, especially e-commerce platform. You don't have that luxury where people can go bankrupt and you're going to be okay because Google is not going to forgive you. If the platform goes down, so obviously the vendors, the financial standing is going to be equally important as well. You need to make sure you are going with a company that is going to be super well capitalized. This is even more critical. Even I talk about this for the ERP systems, but with ERP systems, probably you can have 7 days delay. What next could happen? Let's say if you're not able to process your invoice right away. Sure, you're not able to collect your cash, but at least your ranking is probably not going down. But in this particular case, in my mind, the e-commerce platforms could be even a scarier experience because now you are not going to get your traffic, you are not going to get your customers, and you can lose everything that you have gained from your SEO perspective. So here they are trying to explain and clarify that even though I have filed Chapter 11, and typically this is done basically to renegotiate the debt. So when you're going to have a lot more debt, obviously then you cannot get any cash from the market. Nobody is going to invest in your company because obviously they are looking at you as risk and you might not have as much revenue to maintain your cash flow. So that's where you need to take the path of Chapter 11. Obviously, Chapter 11 is not for everyone, I would say. You only take that path when you are in serious trouble, and that is what it is designed for. Sure, from the marketing perspective, they can claim that they didn't have any trouble, but obviously they were running into, government is going to forgive them one time and they'll let you renegotiate the rates as well. but this is really not good in general for the vendor. So this is another clarification I think they had given. So this is one of the platform Bolt that they were working on. So they had clarified that no, I mean, I'm still investing in R&D, and typically R&D is obviously going to be the first thing that companies are going to cut when they are going to be having any sort of cash issue. So here they had clarified that they are still investing in Bolt, and seems like they are doing okay right now, even after doing that. But it's been how many years? Just a couple of years. So I don't know. Obviously, they are struggling, and that's probably the reason why they need to be slightly more expensive. They had to change their pricing as well to make sure that they have enough cash to fund the development as well. So, Robert, I don't know if you have any other commentary overall in terms of pricing. You do a good job, so I'll let you take lead on this one.
So, I think it's a bigger question, not just on pricing of this. It's really competitive with a number of other solutions out there. So, if you're only going to go by price, you're just gonna see, A is equal to B. That doesn't really matter what you go with, and you're going to see this probably on BigCommerce, Shopify. You may look at some of the free solutions that we've looked at. That have lots and lots of plugins, and you and I have expressed many times how we feel about plugins.
Exactly.
And so it really should not be based on, am I going to pay $24 a month? Am I going to pay $31 a month? It should really be based on what is the longevity of the site.
Exactly.
What is in the company, because I don't want to have to rebuild this multiple times. It's just a pain in the butt to have to, transfer everything over to another provider. Do they have the tools that are going to allow me to continue to scale?
Yeah.
And do I have enough selection in tools that I can fit the ones that I need at this point in time and the ones that I may need at the next stage of my growth? And if Volusion answers yes to those questions for you, then go for them. If it doesn't, then I suggest you do your homework or reach out to us and we can help guide you in that decision. One of my concerns is some of the providers recently have made lots of headlines in regards to extra fees that they're charging that are buried in their user agreements. And this is where you need to really do a good job, do your due diligence in reading the EULAs. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't read those terms of service, and they end up getting bitten by them. And, if you need your lawyer to help you read through them to make sure that you understand exactly what they're saying, or you need a third party to help guide you through what they mean, then reach out to them, because far too many people have just clicked the little box, I've read and accept. Next stage, please. Let me just get to the finish line as quickly as possible. We are going eventually into a slowed economy. The Fed just upped the rates again today to try to slow down the inflation that we have. We know that causes a lot of problems in the economy. It slows down purchasing. We know that the online market for this Christmas season is not going to be as robust as it has been in the past. And that will lead to trouble for some of these stores.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you think about it, okay, so the market's slowing down. People are going to have less discretionary income. They're going to buy less. That means some of these stores may shut down. The platform that isn't well capitalized, depending on that money, is going to have a problem.
Exactly.
And so what does that mean for Volusion, who is currently now in Chapter 11?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I completely agree. I think, you definitely need to pay attention to that. It's tricky, especially for tech companies, which are going to have very, very, very high fixed cost. And they are hardly charging $31, for the subscription. Their developers are charging them $100 an hour. So I don't know how to run the business. Development is expensive. It's not cheap at all.
Yeah. The good thing about, this entry level market is people get lost in the entire concept of what branding is. People think, oh, I have to have the best looking store. Store A looks like garbage. Store B looks so much better. And they think that customers are really paying attention to the design of a store. They're not. What they're paying attention to is, can I find what I'm looking for quickly? Can I complete the transaction I'm looking for quickly? So that means, is the search functionality working well? Have you tagged and just described your product effectively so it accurately reflects what I'm purchasing? Do I have user-generated content and ratings so I see how other people feel about that product so I can feel comfortable purchasing it as well? Do you have clearly defined customer service standards that I am comfortable using? Those are the things that are going to matter to customers. Whether you use the color blue or the color green or the color black, or some of the other.
So, Robert, I'm actually going to call you out on this one, okay? Because see,
Okay.
you remember Unilog. I mean, how much you were frustrated with the UI experience.
Yeah.
They are probably going to be functional, okay?
Yes.
But you don't like them.
Well, I do believe in the Italian design methodology. They make very functional things that are
I know.
very beautiful.
Exactly. Again, I think what the point that you're trying to make is it's not that the UI or UX is not going to be important. It's important, okay? But
Yep.
that is not the only thing, okay? You need to
Yes.
have everything in balance, okay? Don't
Yes.
go overboard just with design when things are not working on your site. So I think that's a point that you're
Exactly.
great point. Any other comments on the price, Robert?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
So I think one of the key points that I would like to note on the slide is going to be about the number of products. So in the beginning one, they are having only 100 products, and I don't know how many companies are really going to have that. If you're a serious business, you are probably going to have 500,000 SKUs. It's very rare that you're probably going to have 100. So that's one point that I wanted to make. So probably you are going to be on 71 or maybe 269 one, depending upon how many SKUs you carry. Unless you are a real hobbyist who's selling just one product. Then we have some more. I mean, inventory is fairly simple as well. It's not necessarily designed for a real e-commerce business. Obviously, it's for very simple business that is going to have a bunch of SKUs that you can sell. But they have a lot of features. If you look at some of the features, and this is where I guess what they are trying to provide is going to be slightly more sweet experience for a very small market, because if they are going to go to Shopify, they're not going to get these things. For example, let's say if you talk about purchase orders, receiving, product key distribution, I think that's slightly more. But again, when you are going to get in the lower end of the market, you are going to get a lot more features, but they all are going to be very lean. And sometimes that is provided to you because they want to make sure that you are not paying millions and millions of dollars in add-ons because you cannot afford that. So that's a value prop for them overall. And that's why you're going to see a lot more features. And it doesn't mean that Volusion is better than Shopify. It's just the kind of market that they are trying to target. So these are some of the payment providers, and I think we have already clarified that Stripe is there. It very clearly says here as well. I think we missed this when we were preparing the slides. So I don't know if anything else is missing. Are you going to be okay, Robert? Just be with these platforms, or are you going to be needing more?
No, these authorized.net is the largest gateway.
Yeah.
So for most people starting out, it's easier for them just to go to Volusion Payments. They may choose to add PayPal for those that want something else. There's a lot of people that like the payment safety feature of PayPal. Yeah. So they may choose to use that, but I think these are just fine.
Yeah, but I mean, there are going to be consumers that are going to prefer to pay, let's say, using Google Pay, Apple Pay, Klarna, and you might miss in some market if you have those consumers. But I think, the kind of target market that these guys are choosing, probably it's a very contractor-centric market, so they are probably not going to have as many consumers.
Or like maybe pay with Prime.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think this is really designed for those businesses which are going to do a lot of business Amazon, because this is probably going to be really difficult there. They have some integration for that, but I don't know if it is really designed for Amazon.
No, I don't think it is either. And I'm not a huge fan of Amazon-centric businesses because Amazon is a business of Amazon, and I wholeheartedly support those that are trying to grow other channels.
I completely agree, but it's very hard. The amount of revenue that you are going to get from Amazon, it's going to be really, really hard. We have worked with a lot of really big businesses, and their 50, 60, 70% of revenue is all because of Amazon. They don't exist if Amazon is not there. So Amazon is that powerful. Okay. So here we have some more. This is the shipping one, I guess, and they have some very interesting integration. ShipStation is very common in general in the Shopify ecosystem as well. So at least they have that. They have some other ones, but for the most part, I don't see any issues overall from the shipping perspective. They should be in my mind, especially for the kind of target market that they are targeting.
Yep.
Um,
I
they
mean,
over, go
the
ahead.
two biggest ones I usually see are ShipStation and ShipWire.
I completely agree. Yeah, especially in this target market. Yeah. Now, for the order management, they have some very interesting ones. They have SKU Vault. They have eCommerce Hub. Seller Express. I don't know how good they are. Obviously, they all are trying to probably pretend that they can connect with channels. They can do a little bit of inventory. But obviously, they are not going to be as sophisticated. But at this level, probably you are okay. You don't need to track every single dollar. Somehow you're trying to grow to, let's say, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, and then probably you need to worry about these.
I mean, looking at the accounting piece, they've got QuickBooks, they've got Xero, they've got Avalara. That's going to cover most of the market.
Interestingly enough, they don't have any of these stage ones, and if the kind of target market that they are attacking, my guess is going to be some of those customers are probably going to be on some of the Sage online platforms as well. So surprisingly enough, they don't have Sage, which is very interesting. But Avalara, obviously, that's the big one. They need to have that. Surprisingly enough, they have eBridge connections as well. That was a bigger iPaaS, I guess. I mean, and my understanding is that they ended up selling to Jitterbit, but I don't know what they are doing here. That's really strange.
The only other one that I see a lot of people use is TaxJar.
Exactly, I agree.
And they don't have that one.
So TaxJar is very unique. I would say that's probably smaller than Avalara. So they have Avalara, but they don't have TaxJar, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Then overall, from the email marketing perspective, again, in this market, I think MailChimp and Constant Contact is probably going to be the most relevant. If you are probably going to be on QuickBooks, then obviously now MailChimp is owned by Intuit. So, they probably go hand in hand there. But this is what you're probably going to use. You're probably not going to be on HubSpot in this particular target market. So that's why they have these. This is probably going to be okay. Let's cover some more reviews and then we can open for some commentary. So here, obviously, she's super mad with this review. And this is probably the first one that you are going to see on Trust Radius. And this is coming from 2019. She's saying it's a scam. Okay, so let's see whether the problem is really on the user or really, on platform. So she is saying that we utilize it for e-commerce as well as retail channels, which is very interesting. So they are using it as the POS as well. And I don't know how efficient that is going to be, but that's very interesting. And, again, where the places where I've seen Volusion installed, they are in those kind of places where you are going to have contractors, where you are going to have retail outlet plus your e-commerce. So this sort of, proves that. And this one is really in the consumer goods John Hart design. So again, it's very brick and mortar plus e-commerce kind of. So here she's saying not user friendly, reporting tools virtually non-existent. Sure, I mean, let's not worry about reporting. You are hardly paying like what, $70? Ever-changing coding issues we'll fix. I mean, this is where the real problem is, to be honest. Okay, even if you look at their demos and even in the trial version, you are going to see errors everywhere. Which is just, I don't like to see errors in an e-commerce platform because you are going to be penalized by Google if you have those errors. So that's not cool. That is really bad when you are going to see errors in your trial version and when, the reviewers are actually complaining about here.
Yeah, so we're 3 years out from that, 3.5 years actually. So I don't know how current that experience is. I would certainly say back in 2019 that was a big problem. And then the next one is from 2018. The third one, this is the one I would pay attention to.
Okay.
Because it's from this summer.
Just one thing to confirm, Robert. So I did watch some of the videos and they were recent. And this guy was literally going to their website and, trying to play with the trial version. And they could actually see some errors. So that's real. I mean, they really have some development issues there. They are pushing code that is not tested well. And obviously, because of that, you have errors. So let's cover some more points here on this one. Then we'll go back to that. Here, if I could score Volusion lower than 1. So obviously, she's really mad because she understands that, this is probably her life savings. And obviously, you have reason to be mad. If you're going to get errors, if you're not going to get support, then you are in real problem. You may want to pay a little bit more, to be honest, for e-commerce, in my mind, as opposed to getting really something cheap and then, because this is about customer experience. Okay, so here, this is the second one that is complaining about that. So this also from 2018, and 2019 was the year when they were actually struggling with their bankruptcy. I don't know if they had to fire some people. That could be the case. So obviously, when you are going to have fewer people, then you are probably going to have a lot of support issues. So here we are talking about it took customers 20 plus minutes to check out. So that's the kind of experience we are talking about. That's all. Then they are talking about the site slowing down on a regular basis. So it's not just one user. There are multiple users that are easy to outgrow Volusion and its feature sets. No ability to create item by item discount for that's okay, no big deal, but errors is serious. Okay, tiered pricing, they are complaining about that, lacking in analytical features. Again, those are all luxury items, but errors in my mind is really this one is the consultant, and this is from 2022, and he is talking about support is rough. So obviously he has had the same experience as well. The chat solution is the same one that they used back in 2010 when I was a retailer, and it's really bad. And he's talking about different funky things that could happen with chat, and that's really bad for your SEO in general, because chat is probably going to be on every single page, and Google is watching that. Yeah, I don't like what I'm. So this is about the chat. Do we have more? We can go for one. Robert, do you have comments?
So I went through a number of different sites, and the one that was the loudest against them was Trustpilot.
Trustpilot or Trust Radius?
No, Trustpilot.
Pilot? Okay.
Yeah. Trustpilot had 375 reviews for Volusion. They're rated a 1.9. And when I did the most recent reviews, looking at 2022, all 1 stars.
Yeah, and sometimes they could be pay-to-play as well, so we need to be careful, and that's why I like to pay attention to the details. Who is reporting that and what they are reporting? How specific are they being with their report? That's what I personally like to see.
Right, and so, going through, it seems to be pretty consistent that everybody is talking about the poor customer service that they get from Volusion. And I think that is the big thing that you need to be careful of is, if you're starting out in any platform that you're using, you're probably going to need some handholding because this is all new to you. And that first review that you were going through, the woman that was very angry, she said, this could be a very good platform when you're first starting out, but when you start to grow, you get stuck. And, that's the thing that we've been talking about with this is, know exactly what you need to get done, see if it meets that criteria. And if not, look at another platform, because ideally nobody wants to stay exactly where you are. You want to go to the next level. So do they offer the tools? Do they offer the support necessary for you to get to the next level?
Yeah, could not agree more. And this is the problem. In fact, see, when we sort of started, our business, Robert, and I'll give you a little backstory there. We started with something like Wix. Okay. But then, initially it was okay because obviously it was very easy for us as a business as well. But then slowly and gradually we realized that, okay, it was the slowest platform on SEO. And if it is going to be slowest, obviously you are not ranking. So even if they are charging me $30 and I'm not paying anything for consulting, that is still bad for the business. Okay. Yep. So I would rather pay $1,000.
Exactly.
Any other comments,
nope.
Robert?
That's it.
All right, guys. So again, with the e-commerce platform, I think the things such as errors, speed, support, financial stability matters a lot. So make sure you guys are doing a little bit of research there before going for a platform. On that note, that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We're going to come back with another solution or the vendor. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight.
Thank you all.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Robert Brown, head over to rgbecommerce.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Noemi Kess, who shares her insights into how the water industry works and how its sales cycle differs from other industries. Also, the interview with Ben Rudnick, who shares his insights into how companies can increase their revenue by improving the findability and searchability of their product lines. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.